Good afternoon, everyone. Buenas tardes. Welcome to another meeting of the Hispanic and Immigrant Affairs Board. Before we get officially started, I want to remind folks that this is a bilingual space. At the bottom of your screen, you will have a little globe. Please click on that globe and select the language that you want to be participating in this conversation in. There is English and Spanish. Please choose the one that best fits your needs. And I want to remind folks that since we do have simultaneous interpretation, please try to speak slower, a little bit, not so rushed. Sometimes I am guilty of doing that myself, so I'll try to check myself on that. And let's try not to speak over each other to make sure that the interpreters don't have to prioritize someone's voice. All right. But with that, let's go ahead and call the meeting to order. First on our agenda, everyone should have received that. And let's go ahead and before we do that, let's call the roll. Andrea, can you call the roll, please? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, before we start, I want to make sure, I think we have a phone call. I just want to make sure that it's not one of our members. I'm trying to.
It is. It's Fevin.
Okay. So for some reason, the format that she's in, is not allowing for her to come in. I know there's some things that we are going to be voting on today. You can, if you have the app, I guess if you have the app, you can still come into the call. You guys have quorum, so that's fine as well. But I just want to make sure that obviously that she gets, marked as here as well. You do have quorum as far as vote goes, but we want to make sure you can go ahead and at least I believe you can on the chat just put your name in just so that we know that Andrea could insert your name into the attendance for today.
All right, so we'll just make sure to note that as we go through, or as Andrea goes through the roll. And Fevin, if at any point we can transfer you over to the panelists, we will try to do that as the meeting goes on. All right, Andrea, can you please call the roll?
Absolutely. Okay, so first on our roll is Eliezer Posada.
I'm somewhat here.
And Mukua Kyoko, so known as
present. I'm here, present.
Perfect. Andrea Lengua, that's me. I'm present. Evan Smith. I believe they are present, joining via phone, so unable to come off mute for right now. And so I will mark them as here. Ann Robertson.
Here, present.
I'm here.
Thanks, Fevin. Ann is also present. Rasha Mohammed.
Present.
Perfect.
Hello.
Hello. Virginia Rojas.
Hi, aquí
Hello.
estoy.
Thank you. Lucky Well Milan.
Present.
Perfect. Michelle Mayo Betancourt.
Here.
Perfect. Jordan Crumroy.
Hey, I'm here.
Perfect. Cynthia Martinez Gonzalez.
Here.
Perfect. Adiel Martinez Ventura. I believe Elke received notice that he was unable to attend today. Otter Zarur.
Present.
And Julia Finucci.
Here, present.
Did I pronounce that last one correctly? Finucci?
Yes, perfect. Yes, Finucci.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And we are at quorum, so I will turn it over to you, Eliezer.
Thank you. And before we go into approval of the agenda and the minutes, let's give a huge welcome to Tolia. Thank you so much for taking time to be part of this board. Welcome. Get ready to get your hands dirty as we move into trying to do our best for our Hispanic and immigrant communities. So thank you so much for taking the initiative to be on this board. So just gonna do a little round of applause.
Thank you.
Throughout the time we'll have together, we'll get to know each other a little bit more, and you'll get to know a little bit about how the board works. But if at any point you have any questions, feel free to either send me a chat or just go ahead and ask as we go through the process today. All right. So let's go ahead and move on to approval of the agenda. Is there a motion on the floor?
I move that we approve the agenda as presented.
Is there a second?
I second.
All right, there's been a motion on the floor made by Ann Robertson and seconded by Michelle Bear. Oh, hello. Sorry, this thing freaked out. Sorry, Ann made a motion to approve the agenda was made by Ann, seconded by Michelle. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand.
Aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. Seeing none, the ayes do have it. Motion carries. The agenda is approved. Up next on our agenda is to approve the minutes of the last meeting. Those were sent out, and I'm sure everyone had time to review. Is there any edits or is there any motions at this time? All right, seeing no edits.
I move that we approve the agenda, the minutes from our September meeting.
Is there a second?
I second.
All right, so there's been a motion by Andrea, seconded by Kodar to approve the minutes of the last meeting. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Seeing none, the ayes do have it. Minutes are approved. Thank you all for allowing us to get through that housekeeping at the very beginning. So we'll go into the meat of our meeting and starting with the staff report. Ara, is there anything for us today?
I don't have a specific staff report, nothing to report. I will say as far as the meeting today, it is being recorded. So cameras have to be on. If you are unable to be on the camera, that is okay, but just make sure if you address the board, you address the audience, make sure that you do state your name and state that you're via audio only for today. So just make sure, especially if we're doing any votes. So votes have to make sure that, it's not just the aye, it's making sure that you state your name as that's happening if you aren't able to be in the count, which is fine.
Thank you. Any questions for Ara at this point? Seeing none, we'll move on to our next thing on the agenda, which is the leadership report. We have a couple of things to report on. First is that there was a Hispanic Heritage Month proclamation done by the mayor of Raleigh. Huge thank you to Elke for getting that going. That has been posted on the website as well as on our own board's website. So feel free to share that with your communities, with folks who would be interested in reading that. It's a great proclamation, and again, thank you to the folks who made it happen. We did have an event earlier in the month, the book reading. Elke, do you want to talk about how that went?
I know Elke is feeling a little sick, so she
will
not be able to participate as much today, but she is joining us via Zoom. But yeah, that event went great. Carolina read her books, and of course we all met her last month, and she was totally great about social media as well and pushing the event prior to, and then asking that the participants send in their art, and she posted it afterwards. It was an awesome event, and we hope to do more events like that in the future. So
yeah, and thank you all for making that happen. It was a quick turnaround to get that event going, but it was great. So thank you for the work. The next thing on the leadership report is the fact that next month on the November meeting, we'll have the community engagement department head come in to present about their work, how they want to interact with us. So be prepared for that presentation, and maybe any questions you may have will be answered at that point. But just a quick letting folks know that that's coming at our next meeting. Seeing none, is there any other leadership reports, Andrea, that I'm missing?
Nope.
All right, perfect. So let's move on to committee reports. As y'all know, all the heads or all the chairs of the committees were selected and notified and have been doing work with their committees. So we will ask, we'll go one by one and just get a quick report of where folks are, what have your meeting, what your meetings look like. Maybe everyone would have a meeting, and just a couple of minutes on what that looks like. Starting off with communications. Abdiel is the chair, and he is not
this
here.
Is Elke. He's not here, so I'll have to share the information. Again, this is Elke. The committee communications report is that our Facebook page has been halted momentarily until we have guidance from the city, as the city's coming up with guidelines. We have requested a newsletter template that can be used for all of us. We are planning on doing a monthly newsletter. We will need contact from all other committees to put on the newsletter. Everyone should have received the HIAB proclamation for Hispanic Heritage Month from the city of Raleigh that we sent out. Hopefully you shared that with your networks. A reminder of the traveling exhibition, Wings of the City, to Dorothea Dix Park this October through March 22nd, of world-renowned Mexican artist Jorge Marin. Wings of the City exhibition in Raleigh is made possible through a partnership between the City of Raleigh, Consulate General of Mexico in Raleigh, Jorge Marin Foundation, and Dix Park Conservancy. I apologize, I'm not on camera at this time. For right now, that is all the information I have to share.
Thank you, and huge shout out for not feeling well and still being at this meeting. We hope that everything gets resolved soon and you feel better soon. And thank you for all the work that you and your committee is doing.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to the Community Engagement and Celebration Committee. If I'm not mistaken, that is Cynthia.
Hey everyone. So we actually were unable to meet this past month, but I do have an understanding that Sophie, you have an event that you would like our assistance with. Hopefully you and I can connect after this, because I know from what I spoke to another member about, I think there's some things I can actually be of assistance with. So do you want to talk anything about it? I'm sure you have more information.
Thank you, Cynthia. And I'm sorry I'm not able to be on camera. This is Anne Sophia Mukua. And yes, we did put together like a little request. We had a meeting with the community, and I shared that with both Elke and Jordan. And we have a scheduled meeting, Cynthia, after this. So we'll probably have a better way forward after we have the meeting today. So unfortunately, I don't have anything else other than what I said last time, that we hope to have the Jamhuri Day celebration, which is an Independence Day celebration for Kenya, inviting other African communities. And the theme is, we are hoping to like have a health kind of fair, and we also hope to engage with the city at the event on the 11th of December. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And I will look forward to more of those details. I did miss one thing in the last report. I'm sorry. Talia had a question for Elke. So Talia, if you want to go ahead and ask that. I think you put it on the chat as well. And I think
I'm sorry, I didn't see it. What is the purpose of the monthly newsletter? So our website, Tulia, this is Elke. Our website has a drop-in with information where people leave they can get a newsletter, all of the different departments, and Aracelis can speak more to this, but all the different departments, all the different boards, they have a drop-in where people can sign up for our newsletter. So people go to our website, there's a little space where people put their email and they sign up for a newsletter. So far, we have not sent out a newsletter. So I'm sure there's people that have signed up, but they don't receive a newsletter. So we're building up for that. Did that answer your question?
Yes, and who is the audience for that newsletter?
The audience at this very moment would be the individuals that sign up via the Hispanic website. Okay. At this point in time, it's not targeted. It would be anyone that would be on this board that shares that page with the, or, you know, because the link is within the website, but the audience per se, our work plan, I suggest you look at our work plan because it kind of breaks down everything.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
I'll be glad to send everybody the link as well, just to make sure that everybody has it and you can share with other people within the community. So there are people from the outside that just went into the city's website and they just select what kind of information they want from different departments, different groups within the city, different boards and commissions. So whoever has selected to receive information from the Hispanic and Immigrant Affairs Board receives information from any events or anything like that that goes on. And that would include the newsletter as well. So yes, please use that as a resource to invite other people to join in. So then once the newsletter goes out, they receive that information.
All right, thank you. Are there any other questions for Elke or Cynthia or Anne before we move on to the next reports? Seeing none, let's move on to economic development, which I believe that is Cotter.
Andrea, you have all the notes. Do you want to go over them or should I?
Either way, I could just briefly went over what we decided at the end, which is, yeah, so we had our meeting today before this meeting, which was actually quite convenient. So we had decided that we wanted to get in contact with Chamber of Commerce, which Cotter is going to do. He's going to reach out to them so that we can learn specifically about their mentorship program. Currently, those who have a membership in Chamber of Commerce, visually, from what we can ascertain, it's just not very diverse. Perhaps we'll learn more when we meet with them, but we would like to either initiate a way for there to be more members from the different minority communities that exist in City of Raleigh, minority and immigrant, or create our own mentorship program. So our plan is to meet, learn from Chamber of Commerce, learn from their current mentorship program and see what we can do from there. And then we are also planning to kick off our events about small businesses and starting businesses in early December. Virginia, one of our board members here, has agreed to be one of the panelists, and the basis of that event will be people who started businesses in this area, how they started, why they decided to go into business for themselves, and how they were successful. So Anne and Cotter and me are also going to look for 2 other panelists to be able to speak to those subjects. And yeah, we look forward to your support. Hopefully it'll be one of those first weeks in December, and we will send out more information as it is available. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you both. Are there any questions for this committee? All right, seeing none, let's move.
I do. I'm sorry. Can y'all share the approximate dates in December?
I think December 4th is Cotter. December 4th is the initial date. That's where we haven't confirmed it yet, but this is what we're talking about. December 4th.
Okay.
Saturday.
This is the type of information that would go in the newsletter along with the Sophie Kenyon event. So I just wanted to make sure it doesn't fall on the same weekends. Okay, thank you.
All right. Moving on to our final community report, that is the, wow, I am banking on the committee. That is the social justice. Yeah, social justice and public safety committee. Sorry about that. Michelle, I'll pass it on to you.
No worries, thanks. So our committee met this month, and we were talking about supporting vaccination efforts in communities of color and immigrant communities. So El Pueblo has been doing several of these events. Vaccination and testing has been one of the focuses. I saw that Jamhuri Day is also coming up, so we thought we could also support that. I know that we presented in our budget that we wanted to give money to make these events a success, as well as possibly tabling to let folks know about the resources that are currently available at the City of Raleigh as residents of the city. So I know that right now, I spoke to Aracelis and we're still waiting on the City Council to approve our budget, and that once we have that approval, we can go ahead and spend those funds and use those funds. And so I guess we'll be working very closely with the other cultural committee for that. And then I also talked to Aracelis about this master list of resources. It is on, I think, the Office of Community Engagement office radar, if I'm not mistaken, Aracelis, is that correct? Yes, so, and I know that their new director is gonna try to come visit us next month at our next meeting. So hopefully we'll be able to talk more about this master list. That'll be really, really helpful, and also making sure that it's available in different languages for different communities.
I have a question. That master list is the one we have. We actually own that master list, our group. Another question is, did we confirm funding?
I'm confused. I asked Aracelis about this, and she said that we were one of the folks that were involved with that, but that there were other boards, and there was a whole process that Aracelis explained to me.
So no, I'm not certain about the master list you're talking about, Elke. I know that there is a list on the website for boards and commissions, a general one for the 7 boards and commissions we have, where each board and commission kind of embedded some information. I shared that link with Michelle, but I don't know if there's any other master list that I'm not aware of.
No, there is. I related it to what she was talking about regarding community engagement, because I know that a conversation has happened, and community engagement department has received a list that we created, that's in the community. It's in our HIAB update information. So I wasn't aware of the one that you just discussed. So that's why I was bringing it up, because we have one, like our board has one. And then the following question is, did we figure out the funding as to are we allowed to give funds to organizations, or what exactly is the process for us to go through and allow organizations, local organizations, to get funding for these types of events?
So specifically for the request that this specific subcommittee had, and they posted a request to do vaccinations. That's part of their piece in the work plan. So the process originally, when we talked to Dr. Caesar about what the process was going to be, because this was part of the previous work plan as well, she had stated specifically that the subcommittee was going to, or the board specifically, was going to have to be very specific about the organization, how the money was going to be spent, specifying dates, locations, just making sure that the board as well as the city was very well aware of where the funding was going. Specifically, was the funding targeting the community versus just the organization itself. So those are just the specifics that this subcommittee will have to submit once City Council approves this budget for this fiscal year. It is part of their work plan, so they'll just have to figure out those events. And once those events are available, it's just making sure that we get those specifications and that everything is clear.
Perfect. Yeah. So we'll get more on that once the council decides to approve or change any of our requests, and you can cross that bridge when you get it. Thank you.
One last thing too. I know that Cotter had offered at the last meeting to connect us with some other groups doing vaccination. So Cotter, will be reaching out to you soon. Sorry, we haven't done that yet.
Okay, how can I help?
Thank you. Any other questions for Michelle? All right, seeing none, let's go ahead and move on to, is there any new business that needs to come before the board? We currently don't have anything on our agenda, but is there anything that needs to be brought up before we move on to the meat of our, yes, go ahead, Anne.
Well, one thing I'd like to request, because it was so very helpful when we began, is biographies of our new members. We, in fact, had a very fun time in our social gathering, getting to know each other. And we've got new members. thrilled that we do, but I'd love to know more about them. So I'm hoping that we can get the biographical information similar to what we had before and send that out to all the members. Secondly, talking about how much fun we had when we did have our social, I'd like for us to consider the possibility of having another social at the time that we think it would be good to do so in person. I'm offering our home. Our dining room table can actually seat up to 18 people, so we should be able to get everybody around here. So I'm hoping that the leadership will think about talking to board members and finding out when people are feeling comfortable to get together in person and to have another social event.
I love the idea, and that is a massive table. But yes, so we will follow up and possibly send some either a doodle poll or something to the members, or figure out what is a good time, because I have, yeah, so that's a massive table. I want to see it. And all right, cool. Any other new business before we move? Oh, I did. Ara, do we have that biographical information like the one that we had before that can be sent out to the board?
I can check with the city clerk's office, make sure, because those are going now directly to them. Originally, when this board started, if anybody submitted any application beforehand, that came to our office. So standard procedures is applications go directly to city clerk's office, but I can put that request in. We can definitely see if they can forward that, and we'll share it out.
Yeah, and I'm sure that once we read that and also do this social event at Anne's house and that massive table, we'll get to know each other a little bit better. But okay, any other new business before we move on to the real meat of this meeting today? Seeing none. All right, so here comes the fun part, y'all. This is where we get to talk and give our opinions and do some voting. Actions that need approval today are 3. It is going to be an extensive conversation, so let's go ahead and move on. And I do ask for folks to keep their comments to the relevant topics at the time. First, holiday schedule. Ara, do you want to present about that? What is the decision we have to make?
So there are 2 holidays coming. In previous year, your board made the decision to move those holidays a week before. So you do have November 27th meeting. You can choose to move it to November 20th. You can choose to make it a holiday and not have an event, whichever way you want to move it. But technically, this board has decided to just move it a week before. So you have November 27th, and you can move it to the 20th if so you choose. And then you also have December 25th. You can make the choice as well to move it to the 18th if you choose, or any of the other. You can choose any other date. Just this is how you've been doing it for the last year. It's really up to you guys. So that's open.
Yeah, and the reasoning behind we did that last year is because everyone already had that Saturday. It was just easier to move it to the one beforehand and not have to then wrangle schedules throughout a week or trying to figure out who can come on Monday or whatever days. So to respect folks' holidays, how does the board feel about go ahead and voting or not? We're not voting yet, but how does folks feel about moving both of those meetings a week back? Still on a Saturday, still at the same time, just a week earlier. Is there anyone who, Andrea, go ahead.
Yeah, I would suggest we move the November meeting up. And I don't know, we're doing a lot more work and I feel more comfortable at how much we're doing in our subcommittees. I would feel comfortable canceling the December meeting. I don't know if anybody else feels the same way. I'll put that on the floor.
That is another option, right? So let's go ahead and do them one at a time then, right? So let's talk first about the November meeting, then we'll make a decision on December meeting. The November one, is there any comments around moving that just a week back? So it'll be on the 20th instead of the 27th. If not, go ahead, Elkie.
Oh, I was just gonna put in a motion to move up the meeting for November a week to November 20th.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second that.
All right, motion made by Elkie, seconded by Andrea to move the November meeting from the 27th to the 20th. Oh, I said I wasn't gonna speak loud. I mean fast, sorry about that. We'll give interpreters a chance to catch up. Okay, so motion on the floor is to move the November meeting from the 27th to the 20th. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Elke,
Aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. Seeing none, the ayes do have it. Motion carries. The meeting for November is moved to the 20th. All right, now let's talk about the December one. How do we feel about either moving it up a week or just canceling it altogether? Don't all jump at once, y'all.
Cancel it.
I make a motion to cancel it.
There we go. There's been a motion to cancel the December meeting. Is there a second?
I second it.
All right. So Michelle made the motion, seconded by Kodar. All in favor, the motion is to go ahead and eliminate the December meeting for 2021, not forever, just 2021. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Anyone opposed? Say nay. Seeing none, the ayes do have it. Motion carries. We will not have a meeting in December 2021. Thank you, everybody, for that. And that is all the holiday changes, correct, Ada? Perfect. We will send out. Oh, thank you. Just like usual, we will you will receive the invitation for the meeting and all that good stuff prior to. Moving on to our second part for approval is the bylaws. As you discussed last week, there are some proposed changes to the bylaws. So I want to go ahead and go one by one of those. I believe it's 4 different changes that are up for discussion today. And I'll go one by one. It does require, what's the margin for a bylaws?
Do you want me to share the screen?
Yes, please.
Okay. 2/3 vote.
Yeah, all of these require 2/3 vote, which means that we will do a roll call for each of these. And that means we'll call your name and you will vote yes or no. But before we go into any voting, let's go ahead and go through the changes one by one. The first change is on Article 3, as you can see on your screen, and that would be adding the alternates language. I believe this was discussed shortly last meeting, but I am leaving it open for any discussions at this point, given that we're seeing the screen and I don't have the ability to see everyone's face. Please raise your hand so I can be, you can be recognized if you have any comments or questions. Oh, Anne, I see you on my screen. You're on mute.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve all of the changes at one time instead of going through them one at a time, if that is possible. But since we have to do a roll call, it's going to take a long time, and we'll need to do a roll call for each change. So I'm moving that we look at all of the ones and see if there's any reason anybody objects to voting on all 4 at one time. That's a motion.
Elke?
Can I amend your motion? Because I think there's one specific one, or propose another motion. There is one, the Cultural and Celebration Committee, that at this moment, I don't think everyone would agree with because we don't have a full board. But aside from that, I would propose taking that out, tabling that one, and following through with making a motion to approve the rest.
Okay, I'd like to amend my motion, and my motion is that we vote on 3 of the items as a group, and have the 4th item be voted on separately. And the 4th item will be the one that has to do with the committees.
Perfect. So there's been a motion on the floor made by Anne to vote for 3 of the amendments at once, excluding the amendment concerning the celebration committee. Is there a second?
I second.
All right, it's been seconded by Cynthia. This is a simple majority vote. So all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Seeing no opposition, motion does carry. All right, so let's review the three that we'll be voting on as a block. Have any conversations on those, and then we'll do a roll call, and then we'll revisit the subcommittee amendment. So first is the alternates language. This document was sent to everyone prior to the meeting, so I'm sure that folks had time to review. If you didn't, this is the time to make any questions or comments. I will speak to, as I believe part of the reason that we want to have alternates on this board is should the case come that, like it's happened already, we end up with a vacancy, we have someone who can already jump in, and then the work is not hindered, quorum isn't effective, so on and so forth. But I will let anyone comment or provide any information on this one. If none, we'll move on to the next.
My comment is that I love this, and I feel like it should have already been enacted, given that it was in our work plan, but not in, codified into our bylaws. So it has precedence, at least here internally in our group. It just wasn't enacted.
Thank you, Andrea. Any other comments, questions, concerns? Elke?
Hi, Elke again. Yeah, I just wanted to let everybody know that us agreeing to has these bylaws they don't actually come into effect until the council approves them. So even though we're agreeing as a board, they still have to be approved by council. But that's all the comments.
Yes, that is correct. Just as the work plan, our budget, and our bylaws, the council has the last word, which was actually, it's going to be coming up to council in the next couple of weeks, correct, Dada?
Correct.
Perfect. All right, so this is a timely conversation, and if there is no questions or comments about this amendment anymore, we can move on to the next. The following amendment that we want to make is putting in a maximum of number of excused absences, as you know, and then it would be 3 per year. As you know, when folks, we understand that, people have lives and we may not always be able to attend the meeting. I had to miss the last one due to a family emergency, but we want to make sure that we are limiting the number of excused absences to 3 a year due to the fact that there is a lot of work that needs to happen. And that is a good, from my understanding, that was a good compromise as far as, not like missing a quarter of our meetings, but I will leave that up for discussion. Any points or motions at this time?
I think this is already somewhat of a standard within City of Raleigh too, especially I'm thinking back to when I took Raleigh Community or Raleigh City College, whatever classes, you couldn't have more than 3 absences, excused or unexcused, and graduate. That's all.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions before we move on to the next one? Seeing none, Ada, can we go down to the third that we would be voting on? All right, this is a question around quorum. I will let the folks who created this recommendation to speak on it. Was that you, Ann? Or Elke?
It was both of us. I think I came forward with the idea, due to the amount of time that it was taking us to get individuals approved for open seats on a continuous basis. We thought that if it comes to time that it exceeds over a 2.5 month period, a 65-day period, which in turn would be 90 days because we wouldn't meet, but within those 65, 90 days, that reducing quorum would be the other option, such as, you know, reducing the amount of people that it's allowed to have an active meeting or to have an actual meeting. So that's the reason. And I'm sorry, Anne, if you remember our conversation.
I'll speak also. We're very concerned because this past year we had 2 meetings that we couldn't meet because we didn't have quorum. We have a lot of stuff going on, a lot of activity that we need to do. As we all know, new members have to be approved by City Council, and so therefore it takes a while. Somebody applies and that has to go to council, has to come back. And for our board not to be able to meet because we don't have quorum creates a major problem for us. So this was a way we hope that we could continue to meet, continue to have quorum. If by chance a whole bunch of you for some reason have to leave and we're not able to fill the seats fast enough, that's the reason.
Thank you, Anne and Alki, for that. And yes, this has been a concern of leadership for some time, as well as many members of the board, around how do we make sure that we can meet and continue to do the work. And I'm glad that you both came up with this possible solution. Any questions on this amendment, Ara?
Eleazar, I think the only concern we had in the office was just maybe the wording, just to make sure council understands specifically. The open seats specifically. I'm not sure if maybe looking as far as being more specific in that end. So either if the appointment of new board members exceeds, maybe not having that appointment specifically in there. I mean, it's up to you guys really if you want to keep it this way, but just for it to be more, if this was the correct text to use. So just if you feel comfortable with it, I would say run with it. Again, this is not something other boards have utilized, so it's nothing I can really reflect on. I've looked on a little bit on other bylaws, and I haven't found anything to bring a directive to you. But I know that that was at least something that was brought up from my supervisor specifically, not him feeling that it wasn't as clear. But again, you're free to utilize this way as well.
Araceli's, I think we're open to rewording this in a way that the City Council it'll make it clearer to City Council what our goal is. So knowing that this is just the first step, I'd say, in the process, I'm assuming that you and the council will come back with something to say, well, no, this is not exactly the way it should be worded. It needs to be worded a different way, and that we would consider it then. Is that correct?
We can. I can definitely look and talk to the attorney and see if she has a specific suggestion on the wording. Again, there's, you know, as long as they can approve it, approve or deny, again, that's going to be a council call. I did check with city clerk, and there isn't like a standard where all the boards utilize a specific. Generally, the 1/2+1 has been, but this one's a little bit more specific. You know, and again, affecting specifically this board because of quorum and the turnaround and you know, the complexity of people having to leave the board because of different things. So we can definitely, you can vote on it as is, with, you know, specifically being that we do minor tweaks in the context of text, and that could even be something that we can vote on. You know, you guys can vote directly Monday or Tuesday once I get that's the better text if we needed to use something differently. So yeah, keeping everything in context as is, of course.
Great. Well, I just want you to know Elke and I are glad to get rewording suggestions.
All right, thank you both of you for that. Yeah, so we will, if there is no objection, we will vote on it as written and wait for that directive from either staff or the attorney's office to make sure that it does comply with any rules, regulations, and ordinances within the city of Raleigh. And once we have that clarification, we can go ahead and do another vote, which will respond to any changes, any possible changes. Elke, I see your hand up.
So the motion in place was to approve all 3 together.
Correct. Yes, so the motion that once we get to that point, once I call for a motion and it's made, will encompass the 3 changes that we've talked about. And that once voted on will go to staff. Staff will present to appropriate parties. Once the staff attorney reviews them, if there is any changes or if there's any possible language that could be inserted rather than what we currently have, they will send that over through ARA, and then we can bring that to the board at that time. But rather than to table it or start to maneuver with language here, we'll go ahead and get that vote in. All right, is everyone in agreement with that? Yes, no, thumbs up, maybe? Yes. All right, well, if there is any more questions on any of these 3 amendments, seeing none, is there a motion on the floor?
That we ask all 3 adjustments and edits together. Yeah.
All right, there's a motion to approve the 3 amendments already discussed. Is there a second?
I second.
I second. I second. Yeah.
I heard Cynthia first, I think. So I'm just gonna go with Cynthia seconded. Moved by Andrea, seconded by Cynthia. Let's go ahead and go through a roll call vote. I remind folks you have 3 options here. You can vote aye or yes, no or nay, or abstain from the vote. We do need a 2/3 majority in order to pass this, which is why we're gonna be doing a roll call. So Andrea, if you could please call the roll.
Yes, I can. Okay. One moment. I am setting up my minutes so that I can make sure I have clarified this. Okay. First on the docket, Eliezer Posada, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Sophie Makua-Kiyoko, do you vote?
Aye.
Andrea Langlois, I vote aye. Bevan Smith, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Ann Robertson, how do you vote?
Aye.
Okay, great. Rasha Mohammed, how do you vote?
Aye.
Hinya Rojas, how do you vote?
Yes.
Great. Ilki Whale Milan, how do you vote?
Aye.
Michelle Mayo Betancourt, how do you vote?
Aye.
Okay. Gordon Crumroy, how do you vote?
Aye.
Cynthia Martinez Gonzalez, how do you vote?
Aye.
Adiela's not here. Connor Zaror, how do you vote?
Aye.
Okay. Tulia Finucci, how do you vote?
Aye.
Okay, well, the ayes have carried it unanimously. Motion passes. Do I say that? You say that. Okay, sorry.
I got it. Thank you, Andrea, for calling the roll. As you already mentioned, it does pass unanimously. Thank you, everybody, for indulging on that. Let's go ahead and move on to our next amendment. Out of you want to share the screen so we can go ahead and look at it and discuss and go from there. Please and thank you. All right, so this amendment was created or was proposed due to the fact that there is a lot of work that goes into community engagement and celebration. So the idea was to divide the one standing committee into 2 with the division of responsibilities and work as well. Now, is there anyone else that wants to present on this? I know that Elki and Anne, you worked on it together. Is there any other reasoning for this divide or separation?
I mean, there was, due to the fact that community engagement, the city of Raleigh got a new community engagement department. We thought that both, it would be a lot for one committee to manage both aspects because there's so many different immigrant and Hispanic celebrations in one year, along with things that we would do in community engagement. So the thought was to separate them both, to each focus on specific things. Community engagement would focus on what is noted above, what the lines, the red underlined, I'm sorry, not feeling well, underlined, and the rest, the changes for the cultural celebration would be more cultural, more event-based, location, events, arts, that type of effort in the cultural celebration. So one to focus more on outreach, civic engagement, the other one focusing more on arts, celebration, and events.
Thank you. Andrea, oh, sorry. Andrea, I see your hand up.
Yeah, so I am actually just speaking against this just for right now, and I don't know about going forward, just because I feel like we're just starting to get our footing as a board and there's not enough members really to support this. Also, I think the logic that because there's already so much overlap doesn't make a lot of sense to me, because all our subcommittees have a lot of overlap. And so, you know, I know that we're all doing wearing a lot of different hats as we do our work and hoping to work collaboratively as a board anyway. So I feel like just dividing it up right now doesn't make a lot of sense to me. We can all work together anyway and serve on different boards. So for me, the logic just doesn't line up right now. And I don't want to be selfish either and say just like, I don't really want to deal with this right now as we're getting off the ground, but maybe other people feel differently. I'm open to that.
Thank you, Andrea. Michelle, I see your hand up.
Yeah, my only question about the Cultural Celebration Committee is if this committee is expected to be the one to go to the events all the time, or is that a responsibility shared throughout the board? Because I know that tends to be a lot. It can be very tiring if only one team or committee is taking that on.
Yeah, and as all of the committees, if this is created, the committee itself would have to determine, you know, what events they participate in. I don't, as I read the description, it wouldn't just require that committee to be at every single event, but nonetheless, it would fall, from what I understand, heavily on them to bring those up and kind of identify those opportunities. But again, each committee decides what their work plan is. Any other, oh, go ahead.
Sorry, is this committee also tied to like the Cultural Arts Office within the city of Raleigh? Just curious about that, because I know that they do a lot to highlight a lot of the cultural events happening in Raleigh, but I know that that office usually only highlights events that they're supporting financially with the grants.
Yeah, at the moment, there is no pre-work established, so those connections would have to be made if this committee is created. But at the moment, that none of that has been hashed out. Talia?
Yes, I agree a little bit with Elke. This is my first time listening to you guys and, you know, listening to this information, but I think so community engagement is, even though when we do celebrate, we do engage, but they're just two different things. My suggestion will be sort of like having the community engagement committee and the cultural celebration committee working together, but eventually divide those in one group that will be in charge of those celebrations and one with engagement. So I think so separating them will be much better eventually.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions before we open up the floor? Seeing no questions, I will comments, I will take a moment to say that I also believe that at the moment, this is not something that the committee should be going into once we have all of the members established, once we really get the ball rolling, and once we really have a full board, and we really hash out what this committee, the work plan, and as we move forward, if it becomes needed to switch to split them up, I think that's a move we can take at that point. But I myself think at the moment, just due to the amount of that work that we already have, adding another committee would be a little too much to put on our plates. But that is just my opinion. And I see Elke has her hand up, so I'll pass it over to you.
No, so when I made a motion earlier to take this out and be tabled, I thought it was going to be for a later time. I think that it was in agreement that for some of us that this might not be optimal, just like everyone said, and I am in agreement with that. But like Tulia said, it's something that eventually I think all of us see eventually maybe happening. The more involved and the more, well, as the years go by. So I don't know if there needs to be a new amendment or a new motion, because I thought it would have been be tabled for another day. That was the objective, but I don't think I gave a date.
Okay. So Andrea, I see your hand up.
Yeah, so my proposal, at least for right now, is that we vote it down, and if we want to bring it back up again in the future, someone would just bring back this amendment to put on the floor. That's my understanding.
Okay.
All right, so is there any points or motions on the floor at this time?
Have a motion to vote on this? I don't know that we've got that. If we don't have a motion to vote on it, then we don't vote on it.
Exactly. Yeah. So given that there is no motion and matters no longer before the board, we will continue with our agenda. The last thing that we have to review and give final approval to is our work plan. That was sent out. And I remind folks, we have about 3 minutes left in our meeting. So let's go ahead and move through this fairly quickly. If there is, this is a simple majority vote, correct, Ada? The work plan
That's
is
correct. And you can do just like you did last time with Andrea. I'm calling out the name, making sure that everybody votes in, just because not everybody's using the cameras.
All right, perfect. So has everybody had a time to review the work plan? Any edits, questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, is there any motions or points at this time? The chair will entertain a motion to approve the work plan.
I move we approve the work plan in its entirety. It is a beautiful piece of work from all of us.
Is there a second?
I second.
All right, so motion's been made and properly seconded.
I want to second it because it is absolutely fabulous. Whoever put together all the stuff that we've been talking about and turned it into this document has done a fabulous job.
Thank you. And with the congratulations to everyone that worked on it. Motion has been made and properly seconded to review and approve, not to review, to approve the work plan. And could you please call the roll? This is a simple majority vote. Again, you have the 3 options: yes, no, or abstention.
I will. Eleazar, how do you vote?
Yes.
And Sophie Kyoko, how do you vote?
Yes.
Perfect. Andrea Lengua, that's me. I vote yes. Bevan Smith, how do you vote?
Yes.
And Robertson, how do you vote?
Yes. Yes.
Perfect. Asha Mohammed, how do you vote?
Yes.
Virginia Rojas, how do you vote?
Yes.
Elke Well Milan, how do you vote?
Yes.
Perfect. Michelle Bermeo Betancourt, how do you vote?
Yes.
Gordon Crumroy, how do you vote?
Yes.
Great. Cynthia Martinez Gonzalez, how do you vote?
Yes.
Great. Kodar Zarur, how do you vote?
Yes.
Kadar Zarur. Do you
Yes.
vote? Yes. Perfect. Julia Finucci, how do you vote?
Yes.
Perfect. And that passes by unanimous consent.
Thank you, everybody, for passing that by. Give yourselves a round of applause. We have a Burke plan and bylaws edits that will be sent to council for review. Before we leave, I want to give Jordan the floor for a couple of seconds. They asked that we could speak on one matter quickly. Jordan?
Yeah, I'll be super fast. You all might have gotten an email from me that we had a grant opportunity and we've extended the deadline. So I'm going to send an email around, but this is a grant for nonprofits as well as cities located in North Carolina and Georgia. And that's because our funder has an interest in swing states. And the short version is we're looking for projects that bring together immigrants and US born, that they co-create a project together and do it together. And without that project, we're looking for groups that wouldn't otherwise have meaningful interaction. So not the choir of folks that's already engaged with your nonprofit. It could be to fight the opioid crisis in a rural county. It could be to build habitat for community homes. It can't be things like celebrations. We're really looking for like sustained interaction over a long period of time. So I'll send that out. And if you are interested or you want to talk through it with me, I've had quite a few applicants it has to be based on a theory. And so if you want to talk through it with me, I'd love to talk with you before you apply. So I'll send it out, $40,000, it's a pretty, we don't require a ton of work on your part besides from doing meaningful programming and North Carolina and Georgia. So that's it. Thanks, Eleazar.
Thanks. Elgie, have your hand up. Anything quick for everyone before we adjourn?
Oh, no, go ahead and adjourn. I'll follow up with Jordan.
All right, perfect. Given that there's no other updates, is there any points or motions at this time?
I move that we adjourn this meeting.
All right, any seconded? Anyone?
I second.
All right, motion has been made and properly seconded to adjourn. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those in favor, nay. Nay. Aye. Have a great weekend and thank you for today.
Well, thank you.